Okay, so discussing the multiverse, the theory of the multiverse, which is developed from string theory. Um, how string theory gets to the multiverse theory is they started with mass. What they have is us. They start with us. So what they did was they looked further in and it showed that it just kept going. It got smaller and smaller and smaller as you keep looking into it microscopically. So they just started. So kids might ask, where do physicists come up with their ideas? Just the natural world. They look at themselves in the mirror and they ask, what is this? Why is this here? So that's what they did. And it just kept going further and further and further. Now, how did they arrive at the multiverse? Is with math. So they applied microscopic experimentation with theoretical math. So the scientists who were experimenting, it's like they asked the theoretical physicists, does the math match up? And it does. The math matches up from atom to string. And that's where the experimentation stops because as as we all know, we can't see outside of our universe. We can barely see outside of our Earth. Heck, we can barely see out of our own ignorance. We can't see that far. So it stopped at strings for the experimental physicists. Um, Actually, not even strings, particles. I think the Higgs boson was the furthest, smallest particle that they've ever seen. They haven't even gotten to strings. That's where the theoretical physicists, with their mathematics, they take the experiments, the actual real life experiments that proves that there's atoms and there's electrons, there's proof of that. They apply it to their mathematics and it matches up. The difference between theoretical physicists is they take the math further. And that's how they develop the multiverse theory. Still a theory. We don't know for sure because we don't have experimental proof scientifically. Um, to me, there are proof, but that takes critical thinking. Or I'll explain that. But how we got to the um, multiverse theory is math. Through math. Theoretical physicists continue that mathematics that is already there, like algebra, calculus. That math applies to physics and they push it further. Like, what about this? What about this? If there's a multiverse, is there a mathematic for that? Yes, there is. Yes, is. There are mathematics that matches up with a multiverse. And that's how they got to that theory. Still a theory because they don't have real evidence. So what a theory is it has one component of evidence, one component, which is the mathematics. it needs a second component to make it actual truth. It only has one component, which is the math. And physicists know that the math is actual reality. It actually maps reality. So that's one evidence. It is evidence. Math is one evidence. However, it's only one. You need in science, you need a second revisor. You need a second component, a second element of truth to confirm any theory. So the theory of atoms is very real because um, on a microscopic level, they can see that. Or actually, I think that's still in physics as well, or theoretical physics. I don't think they've ever. So the furthest they've ever gone is a cell. Actually, the furthest they've ever gone is with a cell, and math and the math of theoretical physicists matches up with that, or it should. If it doesn't, I'm starting to second guess myself. I don't know where, because I'm not a physicist myself. I don't know where their math. I don't know what E equals MC squared says. Or actually, E equals MC squared confirms energy. And energy we can see. Lightning, electronics working, that's proof. That's proof that energy works. So E equals MC squared confirms energy. And energy we see all the time with our electronics working, with lightning. You can see lightning strike, that's energy. So it does confirm energy. So the math does correlate. It just, they push it further. Um, so for the multiverse, the math reaches it, but there's no proof. There's no second proof that confirms it. So it's stuck on that one mathematic proof. It needs another to confirm it. So where do I stand as an artist? I see myself as an artist. Where do I stand um, with what reality we're living in? I know it's not a God reality. I confirmed that with my other video. So with that eliminated, what reality are we living in? What are we living in? Just like a physicist asking, what is this, and how much further, smaller does it go? Um, I don't know. Um, so just looking at reality, just like physicists asking, like, what is this? What is matter? What is mass? And then Einstein asking, what's gravity? You just pick. You pick where you want to ask questions. Well, my question is, what's the pyramids? What are the pyramids? And what's the Illuminati? Odd. So odd. And what are UFOs? These are very odd questions, right? one physicist might ask, what is mass? One physicist might ask, um, what's gravity? Because Einstein asked the same question as Newton. Newton's like, what's gravity? Why do things fall? He didn't ask what gravity is. He asked, why do things fall? See, so as a physicist, you just ask a question and then you just deep dive into it. My question is, what are the pyramids? What is Jesus? What is UFOs? What are these things? I'm not asking to be abducted. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking just to ask. What? That doesn't make any sense. Why is it pointing directly, mathematically, correctly at a star? Why is everything so mathematically correct? And how can we see UFO like imagery? How can we see that? And why is the Illuminati concept there? So, my connection is there's questions upon questions upon questions upon questions. This I know I can explain. Science can explain this. It doesn't go all the way, but it gets to the point of the multiverse. If you keep going, it goes to the multiverse. And that's where it stops. The question I have, so this science has proven. Science has proven what this is. It goes all the way to the multiverse. That's where it stops. That's where reality stops. My question is, what is up with the pyramids? Why is that so aligned so correctly that people of today struggle with? Why is it so my understanding is intelligence builds on itself. If you were that smart then, you're not gonna hide it. No one hides intelligence. It's just like science. When Einstein came up with the discovery, he wanted to tell people immediately. When Newton came up with his discoveries and his advisors found it, they wanted to go to the press immediately. Immediately. And it changed the world. Why is it that the pyramids are so accurate back then, and we today do not know how to do that with stones? Those are heavy stones. There's no Apple app measurement at that time. There's no way to get every stone correct. It doesn't make sense. So my conclusion is that it doesn't make sense. And same with the Illuminati. If you follow it through the Jungle Book and Kipling and all the scientists of the Illuminati, if you're that intelligent and you claim to know of the multiverse, why is it not made public? So, and same with UFOs, same with Jesus. Jesus is a mystery. If you say you know all these things, why are you keeping it to yourself? So when I take all those mysteries together, my conclusion is something is hidden from us as a species on Earth. I don't know where we came from, but something is definitely hidden from us. Because when you have that much knowledge, you want to share it. But when I take all these mysteries and I clump it together, and I come to a conclusion, something is kept from us. And I don't think it's terrestrial. I don't think it's from Earth. Because you see Earth people today, they're not that bright. They're not that intelligent. They couldn't put a square peg into a circular. They're not that bright. Honestly, the humans today are not that bright. They are not smart enough for that. So something is definitely being kept from us. That is from not from here. And if you apply that with the multiverse theory, you can conclude that it's probably from outside Earth. That can probably confirm the multiverse theory. Because it's not from here, and here is the only place we know. So, can it be from within our universe? That can happen. However, do I believe that? I doubt it. Because if there was life in our universe, again, if there's anything scientific to be shown, it would have shown itself. If you live within our universe and you're proud of your science, you're gonna show yourself. So I don't believe it's within our universe. I believe it's outside. Some kid outside is proud of their multiverse and applied it to our Earth and just doesn't want to say it. And how I can tell they're young, they're not saying it. So I can conclude that the multiverse is very young. They're still playing tricks on the Earth. They're playing pranks on the Earth. They're very young. Because no scientist would keep that to themselves. A young person who doesn't know any better, they'll keep that to themselves. They don't know any better. But an adult scientist, they never keep that to themselves. Einstein published many times that got rejected. He published many times. That's what an adult scientist would do. So I can tell these multiverse kids that they're bright, but they're young, right? So their intelligence is, I know a square peg goes into a square block shape opening. That's as far as their intelligence goes. I can tell. I can tell they're not completely bright. As far as they've gone is um a block a cube can go into a cube shape. That's as far as they've gone. I can tell that based on what they're putting on Earth. But the humans on Earth, nah, they're not that bright. They don't know if a square peg goes into a circular triangle shape. They don't know much. How I can tell is, they're still on this. They're still on who am I? They're not asking very scientific, intelligent questions. So um, so to conclude, I think there are proof that there's a multiverse. I think the pyramids and the Illuminati and Jesus and UFOs are proof. However, it's only proof that they're very young. They don't know much. because as a scientist, you would show yourself. You would show yourself. As a scientist, you always reveal yourself, reveal your science. So I can tell that they they know their alphabet, but they haven't put together sentences yet. They don't. They don't. They're not completely um, aware of their intelligence. Because when you're aware, just like Einstein, he knew. He's like, I'm a bright person. I'm gonna show it. Newton was the same way, where he came up with calculus. I'm very bright. I can create. Of course, he had a little bit of help publishing, but it's the same thing with calculus. He's like, I can create. So Einstein was the same way, where he's like, I'm gonna publish. So I can tell that the multiverse is very young. That's my conclusion. My conclusion is that there is a multiverse, and the pyramids and Illuminati and Jesus and UFOs are proof of that multiverse. However, the multiverse is very young. They're not self-aware yet. They're just on their alphabets.